welcome back to Mark on Comms, episode 9, and today we're going to dive into our Week 5 preview. We're back after that Women's Eurobasket qualifier break, and boy, have we got tons to get into. I'm going to have a look at some of the latest news across women's basketball in Europe. We'll dive into the schedule for Week 5, as well as giving you my big ones to watch and the games that you really need to tune into. And then we'll close out today's episode, as usual, with me giving you my predictions for Week 5. Well, first piece of latest news is probably the biggest piece of news, both literally and metaphorically. Tierra McCowan has signed with Mersin. It's down as a short-term deal, likely to be a replacement for Reyer at the moment. So we don't know how long this is going to last. I have a feeling if it works, then it might actually prolong and go a little bit longer. Mersin probably have the budget to do that, and they certainly have the motivation to overcome the setback from last year of not winning in the Final Fours on their home arena. I think they're determined to deliver that this season, and what a signing she is. You know, huge women's Eurobasket qualifier games for her, helping Turkey become the second team to secure a spot at women's Eurobasket next season. She had 24 points in both games and was dominant. Really, really big player for Mersin. The only caveat that I put to this is, how does the arrival of McCowan affect Natasha Howard? Howard having an unbelievable start to the season. In the 5, the kind of all-star 5 for October, really putting in big numbers. 19.7 rebounds a game. How does McCowan come in? They are two absolute monster bigs. Don't think they can be on the floor at the same time, so you're probably going to see Howard's numbers diminish as Cowan will pick up some of the extra minutes. But no two ways about it. Big signing for Euroleague Women's and a big signing for Mersin. Second piece of latest news to have a look at is the announcement of the MVP for October in Euroleague Women's. No real surprises there. She's been making headlines pretty much throughout the season. Emma Meesseman, the back-to-back regular season MVP from the last 2 seasons, picks up the first monthly award as well. She's been putting in big numbers, 22 points, over 5 rebounds, a little under 5 assists a game. And maybe one of the clinching factors of why she locked in the award for this month is her team sit pretty perfectly on a 4-0 record at the top of their group. In the 5 other kind of all-star 5, so the 5 players that were really in the shortlist for this, we had Howard from Mersin, Salon from Schio, Conde from Praha, and also from Fenerbahce, Gabby Williams. I think second place probably would have been Gabby Williams. She also has had a big start to the season, making the move obviously to Turkey, to Turkey for the first time, moving away from Asvel. Really has settled well. She had a big women's Eurobasket qualifiers as well, so she's having a lightning start to the season. But I think it's fair. I think it's a just award this month for Meesseman to pick up that award. Super excited for where the next one will go, though. Hot competition for that as well. Next piece of latest news takes us outside of Euroleague Women's and has a look at women's Eurobasket qualifiers. You see Fiona there. She's announced as our mascot. Got to admit, super like it. Love the colour palette. Love the look. Really, these little announcements build the excitement and build the anticipation for next summer's tournament. But 36 games we had, 18 on Thursday, 18 on Sunday. I was lucky enough to be on commentary for 4 of them. On Thursday, I covered Finland against Slovenia. Big takeout from that one. Jessica Shepard's debut for Slovenia, and what a debut. 29 points, 23 rebounds. That is a way to introduce yourself to the international stage. And for me, looking at that Slovenia roster, that's a real deal breaker. The arrival of Shepard, the inclusion of Shepard in that team now, I think moves them up a tier or 2 on the international stage. I could see them absolutely fighting out for the latter stages of women's Eurobasket next season. Long as they can stay healthy, bring O'Black back from injury successfully, Slovenia could look good. For Finland, for For Finland, obviously the likes of Reyer had a big game, couldn't quite produce enough though for her nation. So Slovenia came away with the win in my first game. Second game, Sweden against Great Britain. Sweden just stayed consistent for 40 minutes. Great Britain showed flashes of good basketball, but also some really simple unforced errors that ultimately cost them. Sweden, with that win and a result later on in their group, means that they were the first team to lock in a place at Women's Eurobasket next season. So Sweden will be returning after missing last year's tournament. My third game was Latvia against France. France buried this game very early, pretty much on the back of Gabby Williams. 16 points in 5 minutes. That's how she started the game and was just unstoppable. Really, Latvia had no answer to what Williams was delivering, and the game was pretty much done within the first quarter. France kind of cruised and managed minutes across their team throughout the rest of that game. My final game was Poland taking on Belgium. I thought Belgium would be too strong. However, Poland came in with a big game, pushed Belgium all of the way. Bear in mind, Poland led that game for over 33.5 minutes. That's how dominant Poland were for the majority of that game. But some of that clutch experience, that big game experience, paid dividends in the end for Belgium. Meesseman, again, another big performance. 29 points, 8 rebounds was enough to push them to the win. However, Poland still hold the head-to-head in that battle, having beaten Belgium back on game day 1. So that group is going to be an interesting one to see who takes that automatic qualification top spot. Final piece from the Women's Eurobasket was Turkey being the second team to lock in their place at Women's Eurobasket. So 6 teams now locked in, the 4 hosts as well as Sweden and Turkey out of this qualification window. February we will have our final qualification window and we will see who will lock in those final spots. Super excited for that qualification window and even more excited for Women's Eurobasket next summer. Okay, now let's have a look at the schedule for Week 5 of the Euroleague Women first round. We have a 6-game slate on Wednesday the 20th of November. 2 games dropping into Thursday the 21st. Some interesting ones, that's for sure. We've got Brno taking on Mersin, Lond against Avenida, Bourges against Olympiakos, then Villneuve in a crunch game against Polkowice. An interesting one in Spain is Zaragoza take on Fenerbahce, Valencia against Umana Reyer, a top of the table clash there. And then on Thursday, the 2 games are Győr against Praha, and then probably a nail-biter as Schio will take on DVTK to close out this week's action. So before we go any further, let me jump in and give you my ones to watch out of those. So the first one I have chalked down as one to watch is Villneuve against Polkowice in Group C. 2 of the 3 spots are already locked in. There is 1 place left, and it's one of these 2 teams that's going to come away with it. If Polkowice win, they have done it. They will have locked in that spot with 1 game to spare. If Villneuve win this game, then it blows the group wide open and will push us all the way through to the final day of the first round. Last time these 2 met was back on game day 2. Polkowice came away with not just a win, but an absolute dominant win, 90-63 on their home floor. The one thing I would say about this game, though, you flip it, put it in France, put it in front of that Villneuve home crowd, it could be a game changer. The French team have grown as the first round has progressed. They struggled in the early stakes, but they've certainly kind of grown into the competition, gelled with a relatively new roster that they've brought together for this season. So it will definitely be a closer game than the first one, where it was a 27-point margin. I don't know how this one's going to go. It's going to be super interesting and definitely one I recommend you tune into on Wednesday. The second of my ones to watch is Valencia taking on Umana Reyer. Bit weird that I would select this one. Both these teams already know they're making it out the first round, already know they're moving through to round 2. However, because of the new structure, every game matters. Okay, so every team that qualifies can't take their foot off the gas because all of their results from the first round carry over into the second round. So both of these teams will be fighting for this win, knowing that it could be a real deal breaker for them being able to make it out of the second round. So don't expect either of them to go easily. So again, these two met in game day 2. It was Umana Reyer coming away with a 75-67 win on their home floor. In that game, Mavunga really struggled for Valencia. Couldn't quite get her form, her rhythm in that. Didn't really have the contribution she's had for much of the season. Don't expect to see a repeat of that. Mavunga's that kind of player that wants to make amends. Will kind of have that chip on her shoulder, that in the back of her mind that she needs to step up in a big way and prove a point against Reyer. Home floor for Valencia certainly will play a part as well. But again, no two ways about this one. Should be a super, super close game in Spain. And another one to tune into on Wednesday night. My final one to watch of week 5 is Schio against DVTK. This is the absolute nail-biter, the breathtaking group where no one has qualified yet. The only group where no one has locked in their spot in the second round yet. That's why it's an exciting group to watch. If Schio come away with the win, that is enough for them to book a spot in the second round. Also, their win, I think, pretty much locks Lond into progressing as well due to some head-to-head situations within that group. If DVTK take the win, then my goodness me, that blows the group open even wider, makes game day 6 a super exciting game day within this group. Potentially super complicated as we could be looking into head-to-heads and points differences and loads of things going on in game day 6. But yeah, a super interesting one. If you look back to game day 2, DVTK actually took the win in this one, 70-63. Not sure what I read into that or not. Obviously, Schio on their home floor certainly going to benefit from the home crowd. One thing that will be in Schio's mind, not just the win, but maybe the head-to-head as well. So from Schio's perspective, they want to win by 8 points or more. From DVTK's perspective, clearly they want to win. That certainly gives them a much better hope. But if they are to lose the game, losing by 6 or less still gives them a head-to-head advantage over Schio, which might come into play. I don't think it will at that stage or will have an impact, but these are all things that will be in the minds of players and coaches alike going into game day 5. As I say, definitely a good one to watch. This is the one to watch on Thursday. So as always, to wrap up my preview episode, I'm going to give you my predictions for this week. And I was hoping I could come in and go, you know what, I'm the most confident I've been. I think I've nailed it with all 8 this week. And then I looked through the slate of games and I was like, man, these are super tough to call right now. There's some that are a little bit easier than others. First up, Villneuve against Mersin. I think Mersin are just going to be too strong. The inclusion of McCowan into the roster now as well gives them 2 bigs, world-class bigs as well to go at, as well as a real firepower in the backcourt that we've seen all season. So I think Mersin on target to pick up that road win and keep their impressive start to the season going here in Euroleague Women's. Next game up, Lond against Avenida. This was a tough one to call. My heart for a lot of the season has made me plump for Lond. They certainly have improved. They have the ability to put in big performances. Consistency, though, is a little bit of an issue. I think Avenida, the depth that they have within that roster is what is giving me the nod towards Avenida, but I would not be surprised if I see Lond come away with the win in this one. Third game, Bourges against Olympiacos. Olympiacos have had a season to forget in Euroleague Women's. Bourges pushing on, again, a team that have grown week after week on their home floor. I think they'll have way too much for Olympiacos. Should be quite straightforward for the French team in this one. Next game up, one of my ones to watch, Villneuve against Polkowice. Again, a really tough one. Polkowice, obviously, you would say, have the momentum and confidence heading into this game. They had a huge win over Villneuve earlier in the season. Villneuve without a win in Euroleague Women's this season. And that's part of the reason I think I've gone for Polkowice. I don't think the home floor is enough for the French team to be able to turn over Polkowice in this game. Next game to look at is Fenerbahce against Zaragoza. Could be a super interesting one. Zaragoza, absolutely an up-and-coming team. A team that are on the periphery of being a contender. But Fenerbahce, for me, just too tough. Too much depth, too much quality. and able to pick up the road wins even under pressure, which we've seen earlier in the regular season. Fenerbahce will continue their unbeaten run, I think, here this week. The next game, final game on the Wednesday night, is the one that I'm going to be on the commentary for, so make sure you tune in for this. This is game of the week, Valencia against Umana Reyer. Super interesting game between these two. Valencia clearly recruited in the summer to go all in to try and come away with the title. Plenty of superstars in that roster. They have looked good. Umana Reyer, bit of a surprise package, but certainly have put themselves in that bracket of title contenders here this year. Obviously, Reyer won the reverse of this back in game day 2. I think Valencia have moved on, have grown together as a team in the last few weeks. And I think on their home floor, with the developments they've had, I think Valencia should come away with the win. Moving across to Thursday, Győr against Praha. Again, Győr, one of those title contenders, certainly in that top bracket. Praha in that top bracket. Győr have had some good games, but have been inconsistent this season, haven't put their best performances in every single week. And to take a win against Praha, they'll have to put in probably their season best performance. So I think Praha will lock in the road win for this one. Final game of the week, and maybe one of the most interesting ones, Schio against DVTK. Clearly, DVTK won the reverse of this. Schio, absolutely full of talent, probably on paper a deeper and stronger team than DVTK. And on their home floor, I think they're probably going to be too much for DVTK. I just think Schio will come away with a win with their home fans behind them. So that closes out my predictions. Would love to hear from you guys on your predictions for this coming week. It certainly hasn't been an easy week to pick. Plenty of big games going on across both Wednesday and Thursday. Make sure you tune in for as many as you can. There's a surge, a swell growing behind Euroleague's women's competition this year, primarily because it's super exciting. Plenty of big games across all of the groups. So do tune in. I'll be back with some post-week 5 thoughts later on in the week. But until then, hope you have a good one, and I'm sure I'll see you all courtside.